Hello, 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 everyone. Today is your friendly neighborhood queer Christian. So today is January 15th, and it is the birthday of Martin Luther King. He was born on January 15th, 1929. And today what I want to do is talk about the different aspects of what it meant to be and what Martin Luther King means. One of the things I feel that we do as just citizens and people, who admire people through history, and even as Christians, we can put people on pedestals. And it's not to say that we shouldn't honor. It's not to say they shouldn't have the queendom or the kingdom. Martin Luther King was a force. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King is and was a force of nature. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He literally changed the course of history. That's not to be dismissed in any sense. But in seeing him as this powerful man, we have to also be able to see him as a man. Because when we don't, what we do is we set up this sort of impossible image for someone to live up to. And one thing that they do, and it all comes crashing down, right? And so I want to think about a different, and I think about that in terms of many people in history, right? I mean, we can even think about James Baldwin, right? The wonderful writer, the voice of black people, talked about love and black is beautiful, and yet struggled with his own skin color, struggled with his own looks, had partners that did not look like him, right? Does that make him any less of an amazing man? No, that makes him human, and a human black man who grew up in a time of segregation. It's amazing that he could even walk and talk without just losing his mind. Amen. So, and we can think of Zora Neale Hurston, right? Her, behavior with some of her co-writers and such was sometimes had less than integrity to them, right? But does that make her any less of Zora Neale Hurston? No, she was a black woman surviving in the South under incredible circumstances and etched out a name for herself, and especially as a woman on her terms, right? To do these things is not it doesn't serve anyone to think that you can walk through the dirty lands and it doesn't touch you. And the same could be said for Martin Luther King, right? Fannie Lou Hamer talked about how she felt really uncomfortable. She did not love Dr. Martin Luther King because she felt she was treated differently because she was dark skinned and large. And that while there were other women who were treated much better. And you can think of even if you think about the whole Hattie McDaniel when she talked about Lena Horne, and she was like, they all love on Lena Horne, but I'm given to black colleges. I've been part of NAACP, but where's my love? Amen. So that we know in our own history the struggles of what white supremacy has done in our own mindset. And particularly as Christians, that is important for us to say and to understand that we are loving people where they're at, and that we can love them perfectly in their imperfect ways. Amen. If we think about Ecclesiastes 7:20, it says, I can say that a man can do good every day, and yet as he's doing good for every day, will continue to sin because we are fallible, right? So in that sort of the idea is like the idea of like that we hold and we understand the heroes, but that they had to come through circumstances that many of us couldn't even imagine. Can you imagine what it was like to be Martin Luther King? That every day as you are on the road, you don't know who to trust. You don't know if the person to the left of you or right of you is trying to turn you into FBI. Every phone call you make is bugged. Every place you go is watched. Every piece of mail of things you write is looked through and rifled through. You get death threats on a daily basis. These people are talking about what happened in Capitol riots. His life was a Capitol riots. Amen. So it's very easy for people to sort of send judgment like, I heard he slept with other women. La, 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 la. He probably did. I mean, no, he did. But again, we are fallible and we do what we need to do to make it from day to day. And judgment is not helpful, and not honoring who or if someone else isn't as well. And it also comes to politically, right? Because politically, we, this sort of way that Martin Luther King has come about, a day of service, and, and two hand, people from different sides coming together and loving each other. And yes, that is part of the walk of Martin Luther King. But Martin Luther King also was a political man. And as Christians, if we're going to talk about loving and being Martin Luther King, then we have to also understand he was a political man. I want to read a couple of excerpts from the letter of the Birmingham jail. If you've never read it, it's an incredible piece of writing. And here I wanted to, right here, talk about. He says, "I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. I must confess over the last few years I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I've almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's greatest stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizen council or the Ku Klux Klan, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice." He's basically saying that the white moderate will say, "I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action," who paternalistically feels that he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of goodwill, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient season. Amen. So directly, and that was 1963. The letter of Birmingham was written in April 1963. This is before the March on Washington. Amen. So already he was forming his ideas, and already his ideas was coming from a more political framework, right? He spoke to doing his gospel as a saying. He likened it to Paul. As Paul was saying the gospel of Jesus Christ, he was giving the gospel of freedom. Amen. And the last thing I want to leave us with in the later Birmingham jail is what he talks about the church. There was a time when the church was very powerful. It was during the period that the early Christians rejoiced when they were deemed worthy to suffer for what they believed. In those days, the church was not merely a thermometer that recorded the ideas and principles of popular opinion. It was a thermostat that transformed the mores of society. But then went on with the conviction they were a colony of heaven and had to obey God rather than man. They were small in number but big in commitment. They were too God-intoxicated to be astronomically intimidated. They brought an end to such ancient evils as infanticide and gladiatorial contests. Things are different now. The contemporary church is so often weak, ineffectual voice with an uncertain sound. It is so often an art supporter of the status quo. Far from being disturbed by the presence of the church, the power structure of the average community is consoled by the church's often vocal sanction of things as they are. That was 1963. So here in 2021, in the political climate that we see now, I have said this before and I will say it again. It is the voice of the Christians. We are the light of the world. If we're going to love Martin Luther King, then we must take a stand. Amen. All right. Prayer chat will be tomorrow. The information will be above or below. If we don't see you on the line, I hope you'll be listening to a video next week. Mwah! Have a beautiful day.